They're calling it the biggest game in the tenure of Ben Howland at Mississippi State. The Bulldogs on the cusp of an NCAA tournament at home. They have won 7 of 9, but the task at hand will be super tough. Tennessee has won 9 of their last 11. They sit in second place in the Southeastern Conference. They are hoping that perhaps an SEC regular season championship is around the corner, but they need some help for the Auburn Tigers. Right now, as you look at the standings, Auburn a game in front of Tennessee with just 2 to play. Mississippi State, who would have thought this? They are in a 4-way tie for 3rd place in the SEC standings. 2 teams picked in the bottom half of the league when the season started, and here we are. They are now in the top 3. Dave Deal alongside former Auburn star Damian Fishback. And Fish, we've got a lot of talent on the floor, but let's start with the SEC co-players of the week.
Yeah, Admiral Schofield, unbelievable size and strength, 6'5", 240 pounds. Don't know the body fat, but there's not a lot of it. He is a grown man, and when he goes to the rim, you know it. But what he's improved the most is the three-point shot. Lamar Peters on the other side, he was out early, suspended. Now the mindset has changed. The mentality has changed, and his team has welcomed him. But he still is a Showtime sensation for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And without question, he is the straw that stirs this Mississippi State drink. He will definitely show you multiple plays of going to the rim, and the success of Mississippi State Bulldogs will likely depend on his success as well.
Well, here's what those 2 guys did last week. Just phenomenal performances for both of these individuals. Schofield with a career-high 25 against Ole Miss. Lamar Peters, really the difference in Mississippi State's overtime victory against South Carolina. And we are just about set between Tennessee and Mississippi State. 2 teams that were picked 12th and 13th when the season started. And here we are in Starkville with so much on the line. Both these teams have been dynamic defensively, first and second in the conference. We'll see if some offense can take center stage. First shot off the mark for Mississippi State. As you look at Tennessee's starting lineup, same group they've been going with for a while now. Bone, Bowden, Schofield, Williams, and Kyle Alexander manning the middle of the lane.
Nice pass.
It'll belong to Tennessee as we look at how the Bulldogs go about their business with Peters, Nick Weatherspoon, Quindary Weatherspoon, and Abdul Adu, and of course Eric Holman, the junior, having such a fantastic season.
Start very crucial for Mississippi State in particular, Dave. Last time they got down 17-2 earlier last year in Starkville, able to win the game, but got down early. They don't want to do that tonight.
Williams, errant pass taken away by the Bulldogs. Weatherspoon out in front of everybody, lays it up and in.
At practice yesterday, the very first thing that Coach Ben Howland said was, I want ball pressure. I want pressure. I want them to see us as soon as they cross half court. That's what you're seeing from Lamar Peters right now. They want to make the Volunteers uncomfortable.
Alexander, big offensive rebound. He's fouled on the way back up.
Now, this is what we're talking about. You notice in the passing lanes is Eric Holman, and then transition. 35 points per game is what Mississippi State averages in transition. Points off of turnovers, and even on made shots and missed shots, they will get out and they will run.
Kyle Alexander knocking home the free throw, 69% on the year. Well, we were talking about Kyle today, Tennessee shoot-around, and you look at the projections for the 2019 draft, and he is a first-round pick, according to some folks around the NBA.
I think that's a testament to his strides. He's improved in field goal percentage, in his weight, and his points every single year that he's been at Tennessee. And it's also a testament to Coach Rick Barnes. They've seen the development in each and every one of his players since he's come to Tennessee.
Oh, Peters, nice move, kicks it out to Holman. He's not afraid to take the 3, but he'll drive it in. Aaron pass. He was looking for Weatherspoon. That won't make their coach, Ben Howland, too happy, but what a job he's done now in his 3rd season. Of course, he knows all about NCAA tournaments, what it takes to get there. He has been there a bunch, took UCLA to 3 straight Final Fours. Bone, little floater in the lane, it's good.
Bone starting to get comfortable now, and Tennessee with a little bit of their own pressure. As far as Ben Howland, I think he was the perfect fit for Mississippi State. We know about the 3 Final Fours, but after he left UCLA, the first thing that he said when he got to what they call Start Vegas here in Starkville, Mississippi, is he said they were happy to have me here. He's excited to be a Mississippi State Bulldog.
Holman steps back, buries a 3. He's 43% from behind the arc this year.
Yeah, he's like a Chuma Okeke at Auburn, an Igor Kulichov, a stretch 4 that you have to really make them put it on the floor. Good penetration by Weatherspoon. You see how he draws 4 Tennessee defenders? Well, Eric Holman was licking his chops for that out of Owensboro, Kentucky. A soft touch from behind the 3-point line.
He's hit 31 of those this year. That foul, by the way, on Adu, his first. Ben Howland didn't like it. Alexander over the back of Weatherspoon. Rick Barnes, we talk about the job that Ben Howland's done. How about what he has been able to put together at Tennessee, the 1977 Lenoir-Rhyne graduate.
Well, they picked him 13th now, 2 years in a row. I don't know who's doing the picking, but for the media, you've learned your lesson now. Rick Barnes will not finish 13th in the Southeastern Conference, and no matter where he is at.
Tapped around. Holman had his hand on it for a moment. Here goes Bone back the other way. They don't come much faster than Jordan Bone flying down the floor.
They don't, and he did an outstanding job just about against every SEC team that they played. Lamar Peters doing a good job on him thus far.
Alexander gives Tennessee another opportunity. Here's Grant Williams back to Alexander. Wasn't expecting the pass. Peters, pull up 3. Alexander answers.
He's the difference. Whether it's Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, he is the individual that will take Tennessee to the next level. We know what you're going to get from Batman and Robin, Peanut Butter and Jelly, or Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams. But Kyle Alexander, with the length, with the touch, the ability, the offensive rebound, 2.5 per game, he is the one that will take them to the next level.
Knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to Weatherspoon. He thought he was fouled on the way up. Timeout on the floor. Mississippi State leading by 1.
Told you the hump would be jumping. Well, Eric Holman's jumping too. I like that young fella. I like it.
Mississippi State leading Tennessee 7-6. First half hoops. Big game for both these teams. Of course, Tennessee looks like a sure bet for the NCAA tournament. Mississippi State trying to get there. They're in the first 4 out right now. But we talked a little bit about these 2 head coaches, Fish, and it really is remarkable. They've kind of paralleled each other in terms of their success at their respective institutions. It's crazy how they got here because they really kind of had to rebuild things, and it didn't take very long.
Yeah, it's been said that fear will make a paper man crumble. But what I love about these 2 coaches is they are fearless. They are comfortable in their own skin. You look at the jobs that they took over, Tennessee and Mississippi State, in their first 3 seasons. Look at how quickly they've changed it. First season, that was tough. If they weren't comfortable in their own skin, they would have put their heads down. They wouldn't have been confident in the ability to bring the players in, to continue to develop the players like Coach Rick Barnes. And you look at well over 1,000 wins between the 2 coaches. They are a significant part of the coaching changes and the upward trajectory of the SEC. Final Fours between both of them, outstanding coaches, and coaches that I think people across the country respect.
It's the 700th career game, coach, for Ben Howland here tonight against Tennessee. Shot clock down to 3. Nick Weatherspoon off the mark. Schofield the rebound. You know, a lot of people may have forgotten, but Rick Barnes took Texas to 16 of 17 NCAA tournaments in his run in Austin. Whew. Yeah. Schofield. It'll belong to the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, Ben Howland tried to become one of a dozen coaches to lead 4 different teams into the NCAA tournament. Northern Arizona, Pittsburgh, and UCLA, the other 3. If he can get Mississippi State there, that would be a remarkable feat for Coach Howland. And you see the success he had in the years it took for those programs to get into the field of 64, now 68.
Well, and listen, he will get them there, whether it's this year or next year. Tennessee and Mississippi State, 2 impressive teams that bring just about everybody back next year. What I love about him, too, is he gives a lot of credit to his staff. Both staffs with Tennessee and Mississippi State extremely underrated as well.
Adu trying to back his way in, and he does so. Boy, he stayed with it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's just a young fella trying to figure it out at the highest level. The ability to go inside to Abdul Adu and establish inside presence is what can take Mississippi State to another level as well.
Lamonte Turner. Catch and shoot. Got it. Man. Oh, he ripped the net. You can hear it from here.
Yeah, Lamar Peters is going to have to stop slipping and falling. He did that in the South Carolina game, and they were able to knock down that 3-pointer that took them into overtime. Lamonte Turner, a guy that you do not want to slip and fall on. 36% from the 3-point line, 39%.
Oh, good ball fake. Weatherspoon buries it.
He's so smooth, isn't he?
He is.
Does he ever look like he's really trying hard or exerting a lot of effort? He's the one guy that gets to anywhere that he wants to on the floor any time that he wants to get there.
Schofield gets up over Weatherspoon. You talk about the silky smooth Quindary Weatherspoon, and here he is.
Well, you see the shot fake. I mean, that's literally slow motion, but that's how he moves in reality. I mean, he just takes his time, and the reason he can do that is because he has a underrated basketball IQ. The young man thinks the game extremely well.
1,000-point score, and not afraid to take that last shot.
Oh, how many game winners has this young man hit in his career at Mississippi State? And he is still the man on this basketball team. He rarely gets enough credit for kind of laying in the weeds and allowing Lamar Peters, his brother Holman, other guys to get involved.
Peters. Look a little bit like former Bulldog guard Jamont Gordon right there going to the basket. Here's the takeaway. Peters up ahead to Weatherspoon.
Oh, yes, sir!
Double team on Williams. And there will be a foul against the Bulldogs on the inside.
Unbelievable job in transition. Now look, this is a quick step, but watch how quick. The pass always moves faster than the bounce. That was one quick pass, a bounce, and then he was off to the races. Young people at home, do not pound that basketball on the floor. Get it out on the open floor, and an exciting finish by Quindary Weatherspoon, Dave.
Trying to hit Alexander. Last touch by Weatherspoon. Tennessee will have an 18 on the shot clock.
Well, Nick Weatherspoon, that doesn't look big what he just did, but him diving on the floor, you watch him in practice, you watch him on the defensive end, he sets the tone for the effort for this Mississippi State team.
Turner back to Alexander. Tapped around and let it go off of Mississippi State. Went off of Weatherspoon's foot. Eve Pons with a good hustle play for the Volunteers.
Pons won their dunk contest, and this is good effort. Energy guy for Tennessee as well. This time of the year, their teams are now starting to work on other things than just winning games. Rick Barnes, he wants to win this basketball game, but he's also developing his team for the NCAA tournament to make a run as well.
Yeah, he's kind of changed up practices a little bit, trying to get ready for the postseason. Bulldogs have hit their last 4 shots. They lead by 5. Carter back to Datcher. Shot clock down to 7. EJ, get it back to Carter. 3 on the shot clock. And he got it to go. Tyson Carter, the sophomore from right here in Starkville, averaging 9 points a game.
Yeah, 6'4", 165 pounds, soaking wet, Dave Neal. One of the smallest guys you'll see at the collegiate level, but he'll put some weight on him. Love his shooting touch.
And a foul on the inside. Stapleton with a push. Hey, coming up after our game, we'll get you to Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville. Another great one coming your way as 14th ranked Auburn takes on Arkansas. Tigers, of course, the magic #1. A Tennessee loss, an Auburn win, whatever combination that comes in. And the Tigers will claim an SEC championship at 9 o'clock Eastern right here on the SEC Network. Of course, you can catch that on the app if you're out and about.
Historic turnaround for Auburn basketball this year. Coach Bruce Pearl done an outstanding job. Without question, he and Rick Barnes are the competitors for Coach of the Year, not only in this league, but finalists or semifinalists, along with some other terrific coaches, Chris Beard, Texas Tech, Chris Horton, Ohio State. A nice job by both of these coaches of getting the most out of their basketball team, but they'll have a tough challenge against the Razorbacks in Bud Walton.
Yeah, both those guys semifinals for the Naismith National Coach of the Year Award. Holman.
See, I don't like
Thatcher.
that.
Follow is good.
Thatcher, nice job of finishing, but I don't like the turnaround by Holman. He has a nice touch, but he's got about 6 or 7 inches. That's where he has to continue to improve and evolve his game, like Mr. Schofield kind of doing.
Eli Wright with the rejection. The Bulldogs the other way, and Peters comes out of there with it. That's blocked by Williams. And then a foul against Eli Wright. Boy, both coaches get a little hotter in the collar. A lot of fun so far here in Starkville.
It is a lot of fun. And Mr. Grant Williams, next time, don't even jump, big fella. Don't jump.
Be some kind of championship week, that is for sure. Mississippi State and Tennessee. Bulldogs lead it by 7. We talk about defense wins games. Both teams showing a little D in that last sequence.
Yeah, Admiral Schofield telling Eli Wright to meet me at the rim, and he met him there. And then back on this end, Lamar Peters thinking he was just going to stroll out. Love that contest by Grant Williams. The reason why people continue to say they trust this Tennessee team is because they will never quit. And even though Mississippi State has come out with a nice start, they will continue to be challenged, and particularly defensively. First and second in the league. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. And both of these teams, especially in the SEC, have been playing outstanding defense.
Bulldogs already with 3 steals and a couple of blocks. And as we were going to break, we were watching Lamar Peters head back to the Bulldog bench, and he got whacked right across the Adam's apple, I guess. And he's been kind of massaging that area since we went to commercial break. We'll see what kind of impact that has on him.
Yeah, either that or a jaw. A lot of times in the game of basketball, Dave, you can get hit, and it's kind of maybe hits your lower jaw, and he's probably feeling it at the back, but he's tough. He'll play through it.
Williams, boy, he is hounded the moment he touches it. Schofield, reverse layup is good.
Wow. Seth Greenberg called it. He called Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield warriors, and they are simply that. And they're warriors for 40 minutes. That's the challenge that you face when you play the Tennessee Vols. They're going to come at you for 40 minutes of basketball.
Here's Carter. Again, shot clock's going to dip under 10. Peters. Thatcher. Boy, just not a lot of room. Not a lot of room to operate on either end of the floor.
Well, that was a tremendous job of operating as a unit defensively. Earlier on that play, they were trying to get a post up, and Grant Williams was really in trouble, but James Daniel III actually came all the way across the floor and then got back to his man. That's when you have good defensive teams, where they are cohesive and where they work as a unit the entire basketball game. Nice back cut.
To Schofield, who throws it down with some authority.
I like that. That was a block that one this time type of dunk.
Yeah. That's exactly what that was. Peters at the elbow, buries it. Bowden can't get it to go. Stapleton the rebound.
Coach Rick Barnes won't like that shot. Even though Bowden's shooting in the high 40s from the three-point line, he continues to want to get into that paint as Mississippi State's doing inside-out action.
Wide open three, and Q makes a pay. There goes Bone off the backboard. And Mississippi State's lead is 6. Bulldogs shooting 55%. Tennessee at 44%. James Daniel the third, back the other way in a hurry, and that one was batted out of there for a moment. Now Bone in the corner. Inside to Williams. He wastes little time putting it off the window.
Beautiful job. At one point, Mississippi State was dominating points in the paint 12-4. It is now 12-12. That's what we mean when we talk about Coach Rick Barnes playing the game inside out, making adjustments during the game.
Last thing he said to us before we left shoot around today is, where do you got to be really good? He says, we got to be really fast today. And when they've had success on the offensive end, Tennessee has been fast.
You're exactly right.
Hey, let's take a look at the bracket heading into the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament, which gets underway tomorrow. Vanderbilt and Arkansas at noon Eastern, and then Florida and Ole Miss will follow that one, and then the party really gets started in the second round. And of course, I think a lot of eyes will be on that Mississippi State team, undefeated through the regular season. They are just the third SEC team in history to go undefeated in the regular season. Tennessee was the last team to do it. Auburn did it back in the late 80s under Joe Champion. Pat Summitt also had a team do it in 1998.
Well, you talk about three legends there, and Coach Summitt, Coach Champion, Coach Dick Schaefer now doing an outstanding job as well. And they, similar to the way Tennessee has done 8 of the last points in the paint, they play the game inside out as well. I'm interested to see who's going to challenge them at the SEC tournament, though. Weatherspoon
hangs in the air, couldn't get it to go. Williams pulls down the rebound, and there's that speed again that Coach Barnes wanted out of his team. Williams bumped on the way to the basket and almost got it to go. He'll head to the free throw line.
Well, that's where you have to know the scouting report. Outstanding job by Mississippi State getting back in transition. But this time of the year, as the competition level begins to elevate, scouting reports become more critical. You have to find Grant Williams early, and you don't want to make him put that on the floor. You settle for a three-point shot if you're Eli Wright on that trip. He didn't. Grant Williams able to get his body into him.
Grant Williams knocks home the free throw. He has 5 points. Grant averaging 15.5 points per game. Points down a bit over the last few games, averaging just 11 per contest. I asked Coach Barnes, I said, when Grant has, it's rare now, but when he does have those single-digit offensive games, where does it go wrong? He says, he just kind of gets lazy out there.
Well, and not only, I would say, does he get lazy, but as they continue to have him at the highest point on the scouting report, that makes it tougher, too. Grant Williams, only 4% of his shots have come from behind the three-point line. Teams are going to start making him knock down that shot from behind the three-point line.
That's a turnover against Quindary Weatherspoon for palming the basketball. Here's the thing about that. Here's my thing. You could call that almost every time down the floor.
Oh, he wouldn't get that call at the playground now. They'd still be shooting for that shot.
Lamonte Turner gets it inside to the Admiral. Bounces off the rim a couple of times into the hands of Holman.
That's where Tennessee has to improve. Number 4 in the country in defensive efficiency. Offensively is where they have to get better on this end. They run nice sets, but they've got to be able to execute.
Chance for Tennessee to tie, but they'll turn it over. That'll get us to a timeout. Bulldogs lead it by 2. Back to the hump right after this. Thank you, Dar. Had a chance to see Florida at home last week against Auburn. Played so well. Chris Chioza was dynamite in that game. And, of course, Kayvon Allen really kind of busted out. They were really hoping he was going to do that, and they'll need him down the stretch because you see Florida right now as a 6 seed. They were struggling until the win over Auburn. But anything stand out in terms of the SEC teams and where they're seated right now?
Well, just the fact that I feel like the top 8 are solidly in the NCAA tournament. Before the year started, I said it would be a historic year, that there would be 6 to 8 teams. Now that I've watched other leagues throughout the year, and I've seen the other teams in this league, whether it be Mississippi State, Georgia, or LSU, I do feel like this team has a good chance to get in 9 teams now. The question will be, if the teams on the bottom part of that bubble, will they be able to play their way into the tournament because of the depth and the competitive league that the SEC has been this year?
Nice catch by Adu, but he lost it.
Outstanding job. Jordan Bowding doing what we call digging down, not allowing Abdul to be comfortable on the block.
Lamonte Turner. Back to Jordan Bone. Pull-up jumper for Jordan, and he buries it.
That's tough. That's what you want to see from Jordan Bone. He is excellent at getting by the defender. So if he now begins to knock down that mid-range jump shot, he becomes an extremely challenging guard for opponents.
It's an 8-0 Tennessee run to tie this up at 25. Holman. Kick it in the corner to Nick Weatherspoon, and he's fouled by Alexander, and he'll head to the free throw line.
One of the best you'll see in the league at using his body and athleticism. He knew at this time when he takes off, he's not concerned as much about the basket as he is in getting a piece of Kyle Anderson. He wants to do a nice job of drawing contact, and that is exactly what he did against the 6'11" defender. Nick Weatherspoon earlier in the season had a toe injury that I think limited a lot of his athleticism. What I see from him now is more explosion, more confidence overall, and of course it doesn't hurt to have your older brother on the basketball team to lean on as well.
Entry to Schofield. Admiral has 6 points on 3 of 7. Make it 3 of 8. But how about the follow from Jordan Bowden? He came out of nowhere.
And Quindary Weatherspoon lifted his hand up as to say, my fault. Because yesterday, box outs were key for Ben Howland. A nice job of Tennessee continuing to attack that offensive glass.
Peters to Weatherspoon. Quindary to his brother Nick, who lost it, tripped over somebody's foot, I believe. And it'll belong to Tennessee. Mississippi State has won 7 of their last 9. Tennessee has won 9 of their last 11.
And Dave, this is what I'm talking about. The shot goes up, and Quindary Weatherspoon does not put a body. You see him raise his left hand up as to say, my bad, guys. I let the team down. That's what happens. The more the competition level steps up, the more the habits come into play. You cannot allow yourself to take possessions off.
Last touch by Nick Weatherspoon. Both these teams playing for quite a bit. Mississippi State looking for 22 wins for the first time since going 24-12 in 2010. They're also looking for a school record 19th home win this year. On the flip side, Tennessee is trying to capture their 12th SEC win, which they haven't done since that SEC championship season of 2008 under Bruce Pearl.
Now, both teams doing an outstanding job, and anxious to see who wins this battle here. That's the matchup that we talked about earlier. The length of Abdul being problematic for Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield thus far.
Bulldogs have turned it over 3 times in their last 5 possessions. They lead it by 1. Oh, nice dribble by Peters. And Nick Weatherspoon buries it.
He's going to make some type of plays of the week. Just the hesitation to get Grant Williams. I like the decision, though. Nick Weatherspoon does a nice job of using the shot fake against opponents.
Off to James Daniels.
Like the ball pressure right now by Mississippi State.
Turner had it stripped out of there by Weatherspoon. Daniels, a deep 3, and he banks it home. Oh, my.
You know, when you lead the country in scoring, as James Daniels III did last year with 27.7 points per game, you have to wonder if he meant to do that or not, Dave. Because he just might have.
Daniel averaging 6 points a contest, as you mentioned it. Before he transferred to Tennessee, he put the ball. He was a volume shooter, as we like to say.
Not a volume shooter here on Tennessee, but let's take a look. You determine at home, was this being lucky or good? I don't know. I take that. I don't know if he meant to use the glass. 7th leading active scorer in the NCAA, over 2,000 points by the young man.
Yeah, you know what you're doing when you score 2,000 points in a career.
Right, 2,000 plus points, you got to call it. He meant to do that.
4:20 to go. Tied at 30. And a foul on the floor, reach-in foul against Tennessee. That'll be just the
third foul.
3rd team foul against Tennessee.
That's the reason for the sarcasm. The sarcastic applause by the Hump here. If I'm Mississippi State, I like the ball screens, but right now it's so stagnant.
Grant Williams, 6 points.
See the difference here, Dave? See the ball movement, changing sides of the floor, and that's the result. Nice job of Walker getting his body into Abdul-Ado, but more importantly, the movement. They had the defense of Mississippi State move from side to side. That's more challenging to defend. That's what the Bulldogs have to do on this end against a solid defense from the Vols.
Peters, hand check against Daniel. That'll get us to a timeout. Tennessee has rallied back to take a slim 2-point advantage. 3:14 to go before halftime. SEC Network Basketball is presented by Diet Dr. Pepper. It's the sweet one. That's right, 3 minutes and 14 seconds on the game clock as you look at Ben Howland talking to his troops. This team right now sitting with a 62 RPI. A win here would bump them up 10 spots, give or take some things that might happen around them, but certainly this is an important game for Mississippi State. They are on the first 4 out, actually the last one on the first 4 out, according to Joe Lunardi, but this is one of those games that might just be enough to prop them into the field.
I would think so, Dave. What I love about that particular graphic are the strength of schedules. Now, for Mississippi State, you're way behind the 8 ball, 134, but there's a lot of teams that are in the field that have worse strength of schedules overall than 134. I promise you that. So the good news for Mississippi State is you have your opportunities. What you have to do is take advantage of those opportunities, and particularly tonight.
Holman underneath. He'll head to the free throw line. A lot of reaching underneath by Tennessee. And that foul will go against Jordan Bowden, his first. Eric Holman at the free throw line, 71% on the year. Young man averaging Right around 11 points, 6.5 rebounds. Coming off, really, he and Adu really sluggish against South Carolina. They combined for just 5 points. Those two guys, that's hard to do, keep them to 5.
Remember this, come next year or maybe even later on this season, Eric Holman has one of the higher ceilings of any big guys in the SEC. His ability to shoot the basketball, he has a tremendous touch, extremely good mobility, and a very high basketball IQ. He doesn't even know how good he is. As he continues to improve, he could be a difference maker for this Bulldog team.
Schofield. He will head to the free throw line.
You know, Dave, there was a movie called Friday, and there was a big guy called Debo in that movie. Right now, the Tennessee Volunteers, frankly, are Deboing the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That's where I'm going. Right. Listen, you got 6'5", 240 pounds, and Grant Williams about the same size. And even though they're undersized, they are just putting their bodies into Abdul Adu and Eric Holman and saying, we're not going around you, we're not going over you, you're too tall, but we are going directly through you, and it's working.
Tennessee back out in front by 2. 2.5 to play before the break. Boy, Bowden reaches in, and that'll be last touch by Tennessee. 11 on the shot clock.
You notice the difference there? Abdul Adu, he tried to back Grant Williams down, didn't move, like he was going against a concrete wall. And that's where you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. In particularly, Abdul Adu needs to work and get his position earlier and then go over the top and use the length.
Weatherspoon shot clock down to 3. High arching shot. Williams might have gotten a piece of that one, and Tennessee and Jordan Bone bringing it back across the midcourt stripe. Tennessee has really been dominating offensively in the paint the last 8 to 9 minutes. They've outscored Mississippi State 12-2 down in the paint. Here's Williams backing Adu in, now back to Bowden. Last touched by Weatherspoon. 5 on the shot clock.
There's two guys in particular when the shot clock is going down that can get off a shot extremely quick. I'm sure Coach Rick Barnes has a side out of bounds set. Well, here goes another guy that can definitely get one off quick. But Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone, and now Lamonte Turner, another guy who can get it off in 2 or 3 seconds. Doesn't take him long.
Turner underneath, reverse layup. He's fouled. Nice inbounds play by Tennessee.
Are you kidding me? Tremendous execution. You get 6 of these a half before you get 7 fouls. And that time, Abdul Adu just kind of watching, hugging his man. He did not help that time. If you're Abdul Adu, you have to go and help Tyson Carter. That's on him, not Tyson Carter.
Lamonte Turner, 91% at the free throw line. It's even better in conference games. He's at 94%. He has 46 out of 49 in late games. Woo.
That's why you win basketball games. That's why you're competing for an SEC championship.
And in this half, Tennessee is 10 out of 10 at the line.
Well, that's important. Last year, around 45%, one of their worst outings ever from the free throw line, and allowed Mississippi State to win by, I think, 5 points. This time, more exerted efforts and focus.
Nick Weatherspoon knocks home that jumper. 90 seconds to go before halftime.
Look how hard Tennessee makes their cuts. Very violent cuts, deliberate.
Schofield. Weatherspoon the rebound.
Let's see if the Bulldogs run some offense, meaning some sets. Move the basketball from side to side. Make the defense work a little bit.
Lindari, tough shot. Schofield had it, but foul on Adu over the back. Crowd won't like it. SEC Now will be live from Nashville for the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament. Maria, Nell, and Andy will have previews and post-game reports for all the games starting tomorrow right here on the SEC Network and, of course, streaming live on the ESPN app.
How about that crew? Talk about excitement.
That's a gold medal crew right there now.
Gold medal crew. Got a mixture, a little bit of everything, but two tremendous coaches and here Taylor, all smiles. Right now, this isn't all smiles. Both of these teams have a lot to play for. A little bit of conversation going on between Walker and Holman. We talked about Tennessee trying to impose their will. Mississippi State now starting to fight back a little bit.
12 out of 12 at the line.
Laser focus.
Well, Coach Barnes was locked in today at practice, and I think that translated to his team's focus here as Datcher fouled by Schofield.
Love the high ball screens. Something that Mississippi State has been able to execute on all year because of the ability of Lamar Peters to stretch on the high ball screen and the danger of him attacking the basket. They've really had a lot of success on the screen and roll.
Datcher looking for point number 3, and he'll have to wait for that.
Datcher 77% from the free throw line. Sometimes it's tough when you haven't been getting a lot of play and misses them both.
Yeah, didn't play against South Carolina in that overtime win on Saturday. Schofield took it right at Datcher, drew the foul. More free throws for Tennessee.
Simplistic answer, but one way to get to the free throw line is to attack the rim. They have been the more aggressive team. We talk about Mississippi State, and the crowd sees the replay up above. They don't like the call, but if you're taking it to the rim, it gives yourself an opportunity. A team that has made a difference or made a change, Big 12 title for the 14th year in a row is Kansas. Early in the year, they weren't attacking the rim, weren't getting free throw shots, but they're doing it now.
And a foul on Datcher as he shoves Walker, and that'll put Walker at the free throw line.
We mentioned earlier that Walker and Datcher, and I like that call, the elbow swinging out to the right. Correct call by the official, wanting to make sure they keep the game under control. And when you have a team like Tennessee that imposes their physical will, you have to play with an edge, but you always have to maintain control. Datcher will take a seat right now.
Chant of cow manure coming out from the student section.
No, they don't like it. They don't like it at all, Dave Neal.
Schofield tapped it around, and it'll belong to the Bulldogs. Tennessee has taken a 6-point lead with 33 seconds to go before the break.
Look at they are the aggressor right now. The decision that Coach Rick Barnes has said is, we are going to attack you. We're not going to sit back and allow you to attack us.
It's about 2.5 seconds separating the shot clock and the game clock.
My guess is Lamar Peters dribble it for another 5 to 10 seconds and try to get a ball screen. He wants this shot, though.
Nick Weatherspoon underneath, and that won't drop. Oh, it hung on the cylinder. 2 seconds. Bone at the horn. That won't drop, but Tennessee will take the first half. 40 points on the board by Tennessee. The Weatherspoons trying to do what they can as they have combined for 17 points of the 34 for the Bulldogs. Tennessee leads it by 6 at the break. Time for us to get you to our SEC Network studios. Dari, Twan, and Jimmy, take it away. Tennessee leading by 6 as we are just moments away from second half basketball. Dave Neal alongside Damian Fishback, and Fishback on a 14-point swing in that first half. Tennessee at one point led by 8. Now, of course, they trail by 6. And what did you make of that first half? We talked so much about how good defense both teams play, but it looks like on the scoreboard, offense might have won.
Yeah, they talked about a little bit at the half how Tennessee was more of the aggressive. 14 out of 16 from the free throw line. They evened out the rebounding war, even though they're undersized. Tennessee won that first first half because they were the more dominant and physical team, and particularly led by Admiral Schofield. We talked about his size, Dave Neal. I mean, but he also told us he wanted to have, I like that, Admiral. He wanted to have good size, but he wanted to be mobile with it. He is extremely quick and athletic. On the other side, Quindary Weatherspoon, still the best player for Mississippi State. I think he has to take it up a notch. It's one of those games where he might have to put up 25-plus points in order for them to get back in it. And then Lamar Peters, I love his defensive presence, but if they get defense, yes, sir, Quindary Weatherspoon and the rest of the Bulldogs can get out on the fast break. That's what they need to do against a stifling defense of the balls.
Schofield just 3 of 9 from the field. The biggest difference in that first half was the fact that Tennessee was plus 11 at the free throw line.
Woo. Plus 11, don't have to have as many field goals, and you do that for Tennessee when they shoot it so well, it's problems for your opponent.
Tapped around, and Tennessee will have another opportunity here to start the second half.
That's why they beat you. Outstanding will, even though they're undersized, getting their hands on balls, cutting harder, defending every single possession. In order for Mississippi State to win this basketball game, they will have to try to match it.
Schofield has that look, and it's been there since we tipped it off. He's on a mission tonight.
Well, a lot of times Mississippi State likes to switch on the defensive end, but when you switch against Tennessee, if you have the wrong individual on Schofield or Grant Williams, it can be a problem.
And Williams with a hard foul on Adu, who will hit the deck. We're going to see if there wasn't contact above the shoulders in that head and neck area on Williams. That'll be the first on Grant.
Well, he jumps straight up, and then once he comes down,
that was a little vicious.
It was extremely vicious. You know, what he was wanting to do was make sure that he didn't make the shot, so he was coming down, but I want to see how much he comes down towards the basketball and how much he comes towards him. He was reaching for the basketball. If I'm an official, I'm going to call a flagrant one because it's excessive.
Right.
And then we move on, we play basketball.
There is the flagrant one versus the flagrant two. And as you said, excessive and or unnecessary. And that's exactly what it is.
And again, he's caught up in the air, so he doesn't want to allow it to be a three-point play opportunity. The real problem is that Grant Williams is so powerful. He's so strong. He's 6'7", 241 pounds, and he is as solid as a rock. And so if you have another individual do that, that's maybe 6'5", 180, 200 pounds, not quite as solid, it doesn't look as vicious.
Nice touch by Adu, and then just lost his mouthpiece.
He shook up.
He almost rested that one on the back of the iron. Yeah, that one clanks off. Hey, 1 out of 2 after that hit. Not bad.
Well, he's shown a lot of toughness. And again, even on that play, even though it was a hard foul, more of an old school foul, the foul that you would see in a lot of pickup basketball, quite frankly, it did look like he was going after the basketball, not trying to hurt Abdul Adu.
Holman will get it back to Weatherspoon. They'll run their offense now with Peters.
I'd go right back to him if I was Weatherspoon. They didn't get it to him on that play.
Holman wide open for 3. No good. Bone the rebound.
Do you see how hard Grant Williams went after to contest that shot? That makes a difference for shooters.
Grant Williams. Schofield. Now Bone. And a collision, and Nick Weatherspoon is down. Rebound to his brother Quindary, and Nick is down. Looked like he collided with a Tennessee player right there at the three-point line and just fell down.
Listen, Dave, we talked about it earlier. Tennessee is a physical team. and they have been imposing their physical presence. I don't think anything that they have done tonight has been dirty whatsoever.
Oh, a knee right into the knee of Weatherspoon. That was Williams who he collided with.
I think what we're seeing more than anything, and it's great to see him to get up, is how powerful Grant Williams is. You wonder why he's able to be so dominant against bigger and taller players. One of the reasons is because he's solid, he's tough, and he plays as a very physical player.
Let's hope Nick can get back in this game.
Well, they had to play with him last game versus South Carolina. Without him, he got 4 fouls, and they were able to overcome that game in a 13-point deficit.
Deep three from Peters. DeLar Peters just 22% from behind the arc, but got that one to go down. His first 3 of the game at 7 for Lamar.
Nice job by Duke. Inside, battling with Grant Williams.
Boy, tapped around right to Bowden, and he's fouled by Peters.
Oh, the crowd does not like it, but this is how you win games on the road. The ball goes up, 50-50 balls, attacking the rim. Listen, Abdullah Duke did a nice job not allowing Grant Williams, a good contest there. But how do you finish a defensive trip? You have to secure a defensive rebound. Unfortunately for Mississippi State, they have yet to be able to do that on a consistent basis versus a stifling defense and a tenacious Tennessee team.
And Bowden gets them both to go down. The 73% foul shooter, averaging 10 points a game. Boy, another turnover. When Gary Weatherspoon got caught up in the air, and now Bone has it. Oh, Peters all over him. And a turnover. Bowden threw it right to the Tennessee coaching staff. 5 turnovers by the Volunteers.
Well, I like the way that Mississippi State is responding. A lot of times you play to your competition, and Mississippi State is a team that's like that. The more physical they get, the more ball pressure that they exemplify, I think the more that they're able to match the toughness of Tennessee. There's teams like this across the country, Michigan State, Cincinnati. Those are the type of teams to where you're going to have to match them physically if you want to be in the basketball game and have a chance to win.
Eric Holman guarded by Alexander. Holman, little fade away, left it short, tapped around, and Alexander comes out of there with it.
Yeah, too much fading away. This is the type of game where he needs to go at the undersized bigs of Tennessee.
Out of bounds. Last touch by Tennessee.
Here's the defense that we've been talking about on both sides, and particularly for Mississippi State, second in points per game. And how about the blocks? The length is what I thought would show up more in this game. 13th in the NCAA, but Tennessee is really matching their length by getting into the bodies.
And a foul as Holman goes flying through the lane. Alexander hacked him as he was driving toward the rim.
Eric Holman, hyperextended knee. He's got it wrapped up, but he shows some athleticism on that play. I asked him yesterday after practice, I said, how's the knee doing, big fella? And he said, you probably got better knees than me right now.
You know what I like about him? It's easy to forget because he's so athletic and fluid, but he's 6'10". I mean, that is a big boy out there that sometimes you lose sight of that, the way he glides around the court.
Well, he's 6'10", but just as Kevin Knox, 6'9", at Kentucky, you have good length, but unless you use that size no one can really tell. You have to show why it's good to be a 6'9" small forward or shooting guard if you're Kevin Knox. He has to show why he is a nice stretch four at 6'10" by doing what he did on that last play.
What you're saying is the 12 to 15-foot fall-away jumper's not helping him any.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Here's Lamont Turner. Bowden rattles out. Schofield with another chance, and he'll lay it up and in.
Just means more. Period. Admiral Schofield, undersized but not undermanned. He wanted that rebound more, and as a result, he gets it and finishes. 13
for Admiral. Peters trying to find a little bit of seam, and he is fouled on the perimeter. And that'll go against Lamont Turner. Timeout on the floor.
The Admiral right now telling Abdul-Adu to stand at attention, young man. This is my game.
The SEC is the best conference, top to bottom, in basketball today.
It is going to be a fascinating run in St. Louis in the SEC.
And that's coming your way beginning next Wednesday in St. Louis, and it will be a ton of fun. I mean, really, there are, you could probably eliminate a couple of teams, but there are 11, 12 teams that could win that. I know it's a long shot for a few of those that have to play on a Wednesday, but there's not a foregone conclusion that it's a 2-team, 3-team race.
It is, and more different this year than it has ever been. With that being said, typically around this time of the year, there's one team and there's one color that you see at the SEC tournament.
Let me guess, is that some shade of blue?
Right. More SEC tournament championships than the other teams combined, I believe. And playing good basketball right now, but they will have competition this year more than they've had in the past decade.
Walker checks in the game for Tennessee. It's good to see Nick Weatherspoon back out on the floor for the Bulldogs. Schofield misses the rim, and the rebound pulled out of there by the Bulldogs and Tyson Carter.
See the difference? Early in the basketball game, we saw dunks, fast break plays. Tennessee has stopped the transition almost completely with Mississippi State and turned them into a half-court team. And the offense has been doing this. One-on-one, ball screen, very stagnant, not moving the basketball.
I don't know that touched the rim, and Tennessee will have possession.
Tell you something, when you play the Tennessee Volunteers, you better have some sets, some movement in your offense, some screens to be able to go against that defense.
You're looking at a freshman right there, Derek Walker, who's gotten better and better as this season has unfolded. Timeout, Mississippi State. Tennessee has matched their largest lead of the game. They're up 8. Rick Barnes in his 31st year as a head coach, coaching up the Big Orange as they lead by 8 here on the road at the Hump. Time to take a look at today's Good Hands play brought to you by Allstate. For that, we'll go back to that last Tennessee basket where the Volunteers have produced tonight 22 points in the paint, and Walker gets that 2 to go down.
Yeah, Dave, Derek Walker Jr. was really probably one of the best bigs on the team over in Europe back in August. He arrived on campus physically prepared overall. This Tennessee team has yet to peak, and you see some of those wins. One that stands out to me is the win over Purdue. If this Tennessee team continues to win, I think you have to look at them over Purdue as a 2 seed because of their victories. NC State, obviously a quality win as well. They've continued to evolve. A nice win over Duke earlier in the year, and obviously Florida and A&M, and they swept Kentucky twice. You just don't do that. And that's part of Rick Barnes and what he's done. And no bad losses, just an outstanding season by Coach Rick Barnes.
Hey, it's the first time since 1979 that Tennessee has gone undefeated against Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Florida in the same season.
That's extremely impressive, in teams that I think all have the ability to play well in the NCAA tournament as well.
Bulldogs need some offense. They only have 2 field goals in the last 10.5 minutes of this game. They're 2 out of 10, and they just lost it in the paint.
Let me tell you the problem. The problem is they have yet to face a team this good defensively. As the defense continues to pick up, you have to be more patient. You have to, it's like chopping a tree down. It takes more time. And so right now they're accustomed to getting it quick, and they're allowing it to affect their defense as well right now.
Here comes Derek Walker. Derek was 7 tonight, 3 out of 3 from the field, a couple of rebounds, and giving him some great minutes off the bench. Largest lead of the game. It's double figures now for Tennessee, and a reach in on Lamonte Turner. Rick Barnes looks at him and says, what are you doing? You're 45 feet from the basket.
Well, if you have not had a chance to watch SEC Inside with some of the teams in this league, it is must-watch television. An outstanding job and kind of looking under the hood of some of the reason why they've been so successful. And you saw Rick Barnes, I think it was a win over LSU, and I had to hit the DVR and rewind it. I said the way he was talking to him in the locker room, I didn't realize they won the basketball game.
Daniel comes out of there with it. Little run out. He's got Pons, who is denied the basketball. Nick Weatherspoon back the other way. Big hop step and count it.
A gigantic swing. Tennessee has an opportunity to score. They throw an alley-oop on one end. They were in the midst of putting Mississippi State away, and then it comes back down, and you have a three-point play opportunity. Those are the type of swings, whether it be in a game on the road or in the NCAA tournament, that can get you beat. What they're doing is they're giving Mississippi State in this crowd a little bit of life.
Nick cannot convert. Weatherspoon now with 9. His brother Quindary has 10. And it's an 8-point Tennessee lead. Pons back to Walker. Entry to Grant Williams. That's a tough shot over Holman.
Two-point basketball is what that is. He's surrounded by trees, but uses his athleticism, his positioning, and timing to manufacture points anyway in the paint where they want to play, inside out.
Stapleton.
Just not happening against this defense. One-on-one pounding the basketball. They're too good defensively.
And you're asking Peters, with 5 on the shot clock, to take a tough shot, but a foul underneath against Walker will keep it on this end of the floor.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, Nick Weatherspoon tries to score, and here's what we talk about with the positioning of Grant Williams. That's 6'7" against 6'10", but he doesn't need those 3 inches because he gets his body into the chest of Eric Holman.
Holman.
Faded away again. That's where he has to improve his basketball game. Outside, he's comfortable, but inside, he's a little too light right now against the physical bigs of Tennessee.
Weatherspoon, Quindary picks up the foul. Holman will head to the bench for a moment. Holman just 2 of 8 from the field.
Well, in between the bigs of Tennessee, Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, there's 9 rebounds. Abdullah Due and Eric Holman only have 3 at this time.
Pons. He's fouled by right on the way to the basket. Coming up after our game, we'll get you out to Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville, and that should be a fantastic one coming your way. 14th ranked Auburn on the road at Arkansas. The Hogs playing so well right now. Auburn trying to win an SEC championship. First one since my man sitting right next to me, Damian Fishback, captured one with the Auburn Tigers.
Well, listen, Dave, that is must-watch television. Auburn trying to make up for the loss of Anthony McLemore. An outstanding year, though, one of the best offensive teams in the country, along with Arkansas. And if you like backcourts, you're going to have a tremendous matchup. The senior and veteran backcourt of Jalen Barford and obviously Daryl Macon, and then the guards of Auburn as well with Herron and Bryce Brown and Jared Harper.
Rebound out to Turner. Here's Bone. Approaching 12 minutes to go. Schofield, and you can count it. What a shot from Admiral Schofield. How did he get that to go down?
I remember being this type of team. You actually enjoy the crowd on the road. Little chicken wing hook that time. The officials don't catch it. And Stapleton, sorry, but Admiral Schofield's on the road in the hump, and he's in his flex zone.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dari, listening to those recaps of those games, I think what stands out to me is Florida, what they're doing to Alabama right now. What is going on with Alabama? Mississippi State, of course, trying to get into the tournament, but Alabama's got some issues to overcome here down the stretch.
Well, they definitely do. And this time of the year, you know, we're looking at the resume of Mississippi State. Obviously, every team needs to continue to win basketball games. So let me tell you, from a person that's been to the NCAA multiple times, what you don't want to do is make it there and then go home the very first day. It is so much fun for your fans. You want to be able to continue to evolve. And, you know, this Alabama team, quite frankly, they have to continue to improve and get better. I think offensively, quite frankly, the challenges come when their offense is stagnant. A lot of times when Colin Sexton gets in the game, the ball stops moving. They have to continue to keep moving the basketball.
Quindary Weatherspoon, strong drive. He's fouled, and he'll head to the free throw line.
The foul is on the 5. Admiral Schofield, his second personal foul, team 7. At the line to shoot the N1, the Bulldogs, number 11, Hugh.
Quindary, dozen points, his first free throws of the game. And he converts. Free throw discrepancy pretty substantial in this one. Mississippi State 7 of 11, but Tennessee is 18 out of 21 at the line.
They're the more aggressive team. They're dominating as far as rebounds. They're +8, dominating points in the paint, +12. When you're the more physical team, typically you'll get to the free throw line more.
Mississippi State had it, lost it, and now Tennessee will come away with it. Ben Howland can't believe a dude just threw it away.
Yeah, you've got to come up with those 50-50 balls. 12 of the last 15 points in the paint for Tennessee. That's where I expect them to go one more time on this end. And look how the ball's moving from side to side. They're making the defense have to react to them, fight through screens, fight over cuts. That's the reason why they've been effective offensively.
Potts hangs in the air with a finger roll off the window.
Easy like Sunday morning. Defensively, on one end, Mississippi State is having to guard, fight their way, communicate. On this end, there hasn't been as much movement.
Quindary, nice spin move, and he is fouled as he dumps it off to Adu. That foul will go against Walker. It'll be his second.
This is what I'm talking about. Look at the defense. That time, Abdul Adu needs to help once again that time. He's the rim protector, but he was concerned about having to stay attached to Derek Walker Jr. That's what you have to see, and particularly when you get to the next level in tournament time, and that's the result. You look at the second half shooting. Mississippi State struggled, 3 of 11. Tennessee 7 of 12, and the same thing. That's what we talk about as far as the domination of points in the paint and rebounding as well.
Again, Mississippi State among the first 4 out, according to Joe Lunardi of the NCAA, in terms of the tournament. And this is one of those games where a win would do wonders for them. A Tennessee team that comes in with a number 11 RPI.
And they also have that, too.
Yes.
Lamont Turner, 23 points, 24 points, 25 points a couple of times this year. They have different guards who can manufacture points, and that's what Antoine Walker was talking about. Once they establish inside presence, then their guards have the freedom to be more explosive as well.
Peters.
It's too quick. Against a defensive team, you cannot just come down and think you can go one-on-one and score.
And Tennessee has taken this crowd out of the game. Here's Lamonte Turner. Peters went for a steal. Shot clock at 5. Little one-on-one action from Bone. Fall away. Got it to go. Oh, what a backbreaker.
Well, and so for Mississippi State, you defended for almost 30 seconds, and then he's able to make that shot. That's okay if you're the Bulldogs. That's a good defensive trip. What you want to do is on this end, you want to bring the same type of offensive execution back. Tennessee's not having to work defensively right now.
Adu almost threw it away.
That's better movement.
That one's off the left. And Mississippi State really struggling shooting the basketball. This half, they are just 3 out of 13, 23%.
Mississippi State has 10 points off of transition. Beautiful cut that time by Lamont Turner. And listen, he has done an outstanding job of continuing to play, whether it be off the bench or starting, and a tremendous job of Tennessee bringing the fight to the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Here's this shot by Jordan Bone as the shot clock hits 0. And Tennessee has hit their last 8 shots. They're on an 8-0 run.
Whew. That's pretty basketball. And listen, this is what they're very good at executing. See, on that particular cut, Lamonte Turner could have come off of the top of the screen or back cut. That's why you have to communicate. And quite frankly, that's why a lot of teams play Tennessee zone, because they don't want to have to try to defend their offensive sets.
Tennessee trailed by as many as 8 in the first half. Their lead is now 19. Don't forget that coming up tomorrow, SEC Women's Basketball Tournament gets underway from Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. It starts at noon Eastern time on the SEC Network, Vandy in Arkansas, and then it'll be Florida and Ole Miss right after that one. And, of course, the top 4 seeds will have to wait until Friday. Mississippi State, they will take the court at 1 o'clock Eastern. There are the ladies for Vic Schaefer, who have just dominated this year.
Well, they've been on the roll since knocking off UConn last year. I mean, that was the shot heard around the world, literally. The ability to do that. That's the same type of momentum that the SEC men's team has this year. You have 3 teams that are in the Elite 8. They continue to carry that into the non-conference schedule. Then they're able to oust the Big 12 6-4. That's why there's a lot of excitement going on in Mississippi State for both the men's and women's team.
Well, tonight the Bulldogs need some excitement offensively at 8:28 to play. They are in a world of hurt. Mississippi State, 2 out of 6 inside the arc, 1 out of 7 outside the arc this half.
To me, Quindary Weatherspoon is the guy who has to step up. A lot of times he'll lay in the weeds, but his team needs him to be more aggressive, I think, on this end.
Peters for 3. That's not going to drop. Knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to the Bulldogs. Fresh shot clock. Boy, just a tough time shooting the 3 ball in this building, which is shocking. They've been really good as Weatherspoon has fouled on the way up, but just 4 of 19 overall on 3-point attempts for Mississippi State.
Listen, 18-1 in Humphrey Coliseum this year. So that tells you 2 things. Number one, they've been extremely difficult to beat at home. The only loss against Auburn, where Auburn came out in the second half, played one of their best halves of the year. What that also means is that's why the committee is going to look at them and say, you have more work to do versus other individual teams because you have played at home. I think it was a decision that Coach Howland made to get his young team confidence. But that's why whether it's this game, whether it's on the road at LSU, whether it's the SEC tournament, as he told me last night, they must continue to win.
Well, for the Bulldogs, this is really their biggest game in this building since 2012 when they took on Kentucky. Bulldogs trying to get into the NCAA tournament. Lost that game to the Wildcats, and matter of fact, it ended up being the final season here for Rick Stansberry. I think win or lose here, I think Ben Howland isn't going anywhere.
No doubt about it. Look at these cuts by Tennessee. So efficient. The timing and the execution, all in one motion. And where does he get it? Basketball exactly where they want it. Beautiful.
Schofield had 25, a career high on Saturday. He's up to 20 tonight inside the hump.
Tennessee has won 3 of the last 4 trips here in Starkville, and they look like they are well on their way tonight. A ton of time left in this basketball game, and particularly for a team in Mississippi State who is able to manufacture points. They can go on runs. The end that they have to get it done on is this end right here. Defensively, they have to get multiple stops to get back in this basketball game.
Schofield driving on Holman. He got another one to go. They just can't stop Admiral Schofield.
Went from a back to the basket guy to a guy who can not only knock down the three-point shot, but also has the ability to put it on the floor. Admiral Schofield looking like a pro.
Holman, he's fouled on the way up, and free throws for Eric Holman and the Bulldogs. Schofield picks up the foul, but Schofield's done just about everything else. Big lead for Tennessee, 6:44 to go. Some postseason basketball, and we are nearly there. Tennessee looking like they are ready for some postseason basketball, especially if they continue to feed the monster that is Admiral Schofield. He has been unstoppable tonight.
He truly has, and he's done it in multiple ways. You see the ferocious finish at the rim. How about him on the offensive glass, just wanting it more than his opponents? Then watch him establish inside presence, going to that left shoulder that he really likes, knows your jump hook on this particular play. And then look at him take it off of the bounce, off of the right leg, and going up off of the right hand. Outstanding performance. Co-SEC Player of the Week with Lamar Peters, and tonight he has played sensational. Obviously, you know his brother O'Brien, member of the 2014 Seattle Super Bowl champs, and learned to play the guitar by watching YouTube. Young man is talented.
So talented that he has helped Tennessee shoot 71% from the field in the second half. What has happened? I mean, Mississippi, all right, we've talked about Mississippi State's offense being a little stagnant in the half court. But defensively, they're the second best team in terms of points allowed in this league behind Tennessee. But Tennessee is putting it on them. What's going on?
Well, I would compare it to a boxing match in which they've never been hit like they've gotten hit tonight. And so the way that Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, even those physical plays to where you saw Nick Weatherspoon go down, Abdullah Due go down, they haven't faced that before. And so they're a boxer that's in a ring that's trying to get accustomed to the way Tennessee's hitting them, and they're having to try to grow up quickly here at home.
Some pressure by the Bulldogs out of that timeout. Tennessee has hit 10 straight shots. 10 straight.
Well, that happens with young teams as well. They allow their offensive struggles to affect their defense.
2 on the shot clock. There's going to be a defensive stand. Weatherspoon out in front of the field, and he'll throw it home. Ben Howland calling for some pressure on the basketball. Is there a run for the Bulldogs with 5:58 to play? A foul against Weatherspoon.
Well, and I think it's something that Coach Ben Howland may want to take a look at as they continue to go through this season. You don't see a lot of pressure out of Mississippi State, but they have rim protectors, they have depth, both in their front line and at their guard position. It's something they could throw a little extra arsenal move that I think would really hurt teams, especially in the SEC tournament.
Williams can't catch up to the entry pass. 10 turnovers by Tennessee. Peters. He just threw it away.
Well, that frustration that's sitting right now. Now, Lamar Peters is an extremely emotional person, and Pat Bradley said it in studio this weekend. He said he was the straw that stirred the Mississippi State Bulldog drink. And he has continued to play well of late, and particularly on this hot streak. Now, what is going to happen for Mississippi State is when he's not playing his best games, they're going to have to find a way to win and play well, and particularly not only in this game, but as the season continues.
And a blocking foul on that sideline. That'll go against Stapleton. His third. Or excuse me, his fourth. That is the 5th team foul against the Bulldogs. 16-point game, 5.5 to go.
Well, the Mississippi State Bulldogs go to LSU after this game, so the finish is so important. And I'm anxious to see it because Tennessee will not let up. They have habits, they have a way that they are accustomed to playing, and they will do that for 40 minutes.
That may be the one right there. Lamonte Turner steps back and buries the three. Weatherspoon. Stapleton tried to get it to Holman. Williams on the deck.
That's what happens when you face good defenses. Now they're second-guessing themselves. Tennessee closes out so hard. They've been there on the penetration, so when you have open looks, you actually take too many passes and you pass up some good shots. That's what Mississippi State did on that last possession.
Tennessee's hit 11 straight from the field. They are shooting 57% for the game. First miss. Quindary, he's getting frustrated, thought there was some contact there, and somebody lost a shoe. Holman lost his right shoe.
Grant Williams, I'd go right at him.
Lamonte Turner had it poked away. And again, how many times have we seen Mississippi State come up with the basketball and then turn it right back over to Tennessee? That's the kind of night it's been. They've lost a lot of basketballs out of bounds, and they've also lost a shoe. 3:44 to go. All Tennessee in the second half. Crazy. Teams can finish third, or they can finish 12th.
Oh, but it will be an incredible scenario, though, an environment. I'm anxious to see which teams come out and support their teams, because so many teams in play this year, not only to win the tournament, but still to try to get to the NCAA tournament. And tonight, one of the reasons that Tennessee has come in and basically taken the wheel of Mississippi State is Admiral Schofield, 8 of 16 from the floor. When Dave Weatherspoon, he has a laid-back personality. Good game on the night, but this is one of those nights to where when he sees Lamar Peters struggling, where he sees the type of defense that he has to step up and take more of a leadership role, he is going to have to do that down the stretch if Mississippi State has the hopes of continuing to try to make the NCAA tournament.
Williams fouled on the way to the basket. Give us a chance to remind you that coming up after this one, we'll take you to Fayetteville, Arkansas. It'll be Auburn in Arkansas. And then after that, SEC Now with our boys. Twan, Jimmy, Dari, breaking it all down on a busy night of SEC basketball with some big games. And Missouri out in front of Vanderbilt. They trailed in that one in the first half, but they have come out in the second half to take a lead. They lead it by 8. Meanwhile, Florida's up 20 on the road in Tuscaloosa.
I did not see that one coming. Listen, Florida's defense is now beginning to catch up with their offense. Coach Mike White, obviously in the Elite Eight last year, possibly could have been at the Final Four, ran into South Carolina, obviously. But this year, that team is dangerous. They're lethal, and Alabama will have to figure it out on the offensive and defensive end as well.
Frizzell picks up 2 quick fouls as he checks into the game. That'll send Williams to the free throw line. Datcher also checks in for Stapleton. I can't say enough about Rick Barnes and the job he has done in this Tennessee team. Obviously, you have a couple of games, recently Georgia, they didn't play well in Athens and got handed one there by the Bulldogs. But this is a team that has won 9 of their last 11. And who's to say that they may not be the best team in the league right now?
Well, outside of Kentucky, I think they're playing.
That's what I'm saying.
As good as any team.
As we head to the tournament, this is a team, a legitimate chance to win the tournament.
Well, and even though Auburn's lost McLemore, they've been there. That loss has really hurt them. I'm anxious to see what type of team they will become. But as far as a team that can advance, Jimmy Dykes says it in the studio all the time that he trusts this team as much as any team in the league. And the reason is because of their habits. You know what you're going to get from Schofield and Williams. You know they're going to play hard. You know they're going to defend every trip. And that will take you a long way come March. And I think that's the reason why you say they're the best team in the league right now.
Could be. I'm still holding out that Auburn, that was a hiccup down in Gainesville on Saturday.
Well, it obviously was. And you see the way Florida's performing at Alabama. But Arkansas is a team that always gets better towards the end of the year as well. This Mississippi State team, though, Dave, they'll need to respond to this. What's going to be in question after this basketball game is the leadership role. Who's the leader on our basketball team? That leader will step up now.
Admiral Schofield, speaking of leaders, with 24. He's one off his career high set in his last game.
Well, they are a team that follows their head coach's personality. Coach Rick Barnes, you would not find a better coach or individual for that fact. He is straight up. He has a humble and hungry and kind heart. 6th or 7th, I believe, amongst active coaches and career wins, on his way towards 700. And he is a great ambassador for this league. Coached his 1,000th game on January 13th. And you see that record. 65%, 7th on active wins list. 22 NCAA tournaments. You don't do that unless you exemplify excellence. Eli Wright with that shot. Played a good game against South Carolina. Not relevant here tonight, though.
Tennessee just winding this clock down, trying to get out of Starkville with the victory. Tennessee, when they hold opponents under 40% shooting this year, they are 15-0. Right now, Bulldogs at exactly 40% for the game. How about that deep three off the hands of Jordan Bowden?
You love teams, individuals, teams, people that come in, they clock in, they go to work, their blue-collar effort, take care of business, and then go home. That's exactly what the Tennessee Volunteers came into Humphrey Coliseum and did tonight.
Well, everybody that played for Tennessee has scored tonight. They have played 9 guys, and everybody's in the scoring column. Quindary Witherspoon will lead Mississippi State with 17, but the night belonged to Tennessee, Rick Barnes, and Admiral Schofield. Tennessee stays in the hunt as we speak. A half a game behind the Auburn Tigers. They go to 22-7, 12-5 in the league. Mississippi State drops to 21-9 and 9-8. Final score, 76-54. Tennessee wins it. For Damian Fishback, I'm Dave Neal. So long. Dari, it's all yours.